even if something bad happens, I don't have to be at the whim of that, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And that I can only control certain things. I think even knowing that can really help, because then it's like, okay, well, I just keep going with stuff that I can do.
Hard work, hard work, that's what they say. Hard work, I earn my pay. Hard work, do it every day.
Well, welcome once again to another Work Ethic podcast. And I'm sitting here today with Lilly Hahn, and I'm very excited to talk with Lilly. We've only really messaged back and forth on Twitter so far. I met Lilly in actually on Twitter, in Twitter Spaces with Dragon Forge NFT project. She I believe works with or helps out with. We were doing a call, kind of a networking call, and we connected. She messaged me kind of briefly afterwards, mentioning that she was doing some NFT projects and working with this organization, kind of really she runs a B Corp and trying to figure out ways to leverage the Web3 space for social good and kind of some of the similar goals that we have. And I was just really excited for us to connect and kind of pick through that. She's the founder of Hype, HYP, or HYPHENOVA is the full name of that. And I tell you what, Lilly, I'm just going to toss this to you that's about what I know about you from what I was able to track down. So introduce yourself more to me and to everyone listening. Take as much time as you want, and we'll just kind of roll from there. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me today, and very much looking forward to this great conversation. And yes, it's incredible the people that you meet on Twitter. And I'm so fortunate and appreciative that I got connected to you. And, just really, I so appreciate that you asked me to come in and talk about Hype and the work that we do. I'm so passionate about this. I'll tell you a little bit and a bit about my background. Please. But Hype is a B Corp, so we are a social good company, and our entire mission is focused on amplifying creators of color and historically underrepresented, singers, filmmakers, creators, as well as international filmmakers. And it's been, this is just a continuation actually of the things that I've been doing throughout my life. On a more personal note, I am a transracial adoptee, so I've grown up in a cross-cultural family, since a child. And so, really understanding people being able to be heard, to be seen, is something that's very, very personal to me. And that's something that I carry with me when I advocate, for people like me, being a woman of color, and also for other communities of color as well. And I started my career actually working a lot in public sector, nonprofit work. So I've worked a lot in HIV/AIDS work. That's actually where I got started. I work specifically, with I'd say some of the most underserved communities, trying to get access to healthcare, basic healthcare rights. So I did that, and then I also worked in healthcare policy after that as well.
Is all of this in the same geographic area?
Yes.
So where are you at?
Yeah, so right now I'm actually right outside New York City, although for many years I grew up in California, so I did do some of this work in the Bay Area. Okay. And then I later went out to Washington, D.C. So I lived in D.C. for several years, and that's where I was a policy major. I was a policy wonk, and I thought, I'm going to try to influence, policy, and I really and I believe in that as a driver of change too. It is sometimes a much slower driver of change, and one that has a lot of complexities to it too. So, but yes, nonetheless, I worked on that, and then fast forward a little bit, I ended up segueing over, doing a lot more work with startups, working in the private sector. I work in financial services, and also ran my own incubator for a bit, and now transitioning over to running Hype, which just really feels like kind of taking all of those experiences and combining it into something a lot bigger that hopefully will support people and be something that can be a catalyst for change. And yeah, I'm just very excited about what we're doing. I guess a little bit more I can share is that, during the pandemic, right, a lot of people were at home, including myself, and you consume a lot of media during that time period. And you know, I think just when you work in policy, in finance, in technology, you know, these, you see how much biases and stereotypes exist, right? You don't have to go very far to see that and to experience it. And then being at home, I just saw how much, you know, the media definitely plays a big part. It's a huge influence on that. And I also experienced for myself, and I also heard, you know, by listening to others, just the need to be heard, the need to have a community, right? Because we are feeling so disconnected from others. And so, you know, all of that kind of came to a head. And I just started spending more time online, which, you know, because really not a lot of places to go.
Yep.
And so, you know, being online, I did a lot in social media. I made a lot of friends, a lot of connections. And for me, it was a really new experience actually doing that, because I really hadn't done that a lot. And it was really, in a positive way, it was really life-changing. The people that I got connected to. I mean, literally, you know, we're sitting here having this conversation because of a Twitter.
Incredible. Yep.
It's really incredible. It is really incredible. And I just thought to myself, well, gosh, you know, like this is already changing my life, and I see the possibilities to change other people's lives. And that's what excited me. I was like, wow, you know what, this can really do things for people. It's amazing. And so it was just very organic. I mean, we literally just met on Clubhouse, started having rooms. We migrated over for some time onto a Spotify green room, started doing shows over there, and just having a lot of fun and being really creative and having that creative outlet exist. It was amazing. It was so freeing. It was so fun. And it just, I don't know, I felt like for the first time, like so many things were opening up, not only for myself, but for others. And that's really what the genesis of it is. That's how it began. I mean, it wasn't even beginning as a company. It was just through connections of friends, making those relationships, forming a community, finding like-minded people who had similar values and wanted to do positive things in the world. And how cool was it and is it that I'm able to connect with them all over the world.
You know what I love as I'm listening to you talk, is you know, are you familiar with the Simon Sinek, like start with why, you know, those circles, that really popular TED talk and his whole thing? As you talk through what you're working on, there's very much like a cause, like, so in the beginning, there's like why, like we want to help create this platform, we want to do these things. And then very much like how these things came to be for you, relational, connecting online, leveraging these technologies and tools, very organic. Can you speak a little bit about what, like just in the like, okay, so tell us what, maybe illustrate some projects or some things that you guys have been working on. You know, why I'm saying I love that is like what you're talking about is like all the subterranean purpose, which is great. But, you know, sketch out for us, like, what kind of stuff do you guys do?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that we did was at the sort of midpoint of December, going through the end of January, we put on a streaming film festival. So we put together in about 6 weeks. It was quite a feat, I will tell you. We showcased 25 films from around the world.
Wow.
Did it in a metaverse. We put the filmmakers on a NASDAQ billboard to you know, make a statement about what we stand for, and to show people literally, physically, people's faces, their work, their art. And you know, we partnered with another company, Democracy, which was amazing, and it really helped us because they have already a built-in network, a community of film goers and film festival lovers. And so that made things a lot more feasible and doable in such a short period of time. So we really appreciate them, because that helped us tremendously to be able to pull this off in a very efficient manner. And so
that's
incredible. It was one of the biggest things, and the thing that we started with was that we had several NFT creators that were part of that. We did several screenings that were also live. We invite the filmmakers to come and talk on panels. We had some people come and talk about DAOs as well. We had some live performances, in the platform, which was really fun. And all in all, I mean, again, it was really a celebration of them and of their art, their passion. Some of them had already been recognized by art film festivals and others hadn't. And I think it was a great experience for all of them,
So awesome.
they did get recognized,
What kind of attendance did you guys have for that? Was it a pretty good? Because I mean, doing it online in the way that you did, seems like it
Yes.
was open to people from all over the place, right?
It was really good because going with Filmocracy, they have a network of 60,000 people.
Nice.
So they were all able to come in and see it, which is amazing. So that helped us tremendously. And then we obviously advertised it to our own audiences. We, made the decision to, at least for this year, we made it completely donation based. So
Yep.
the filmmakers then have to apply, which folks may not realize this, but actually it's very common for filmmakers to actually have to pay an application fee, and sometimes it's nominal and sometimes it's very steep.
Mhm.
So we just said, hey, we really want you guys to apply. And we discussed and reviewed the films that we selected and made our choices and then showed the films. And it was great.
And what period of time was that over? You said December, January. So it was, I mean, 25, just at 25 films, that's a long period of time, right? And so you kind of run a few a day for like a period of time.
Well, it was streaming, so most of them were video on demand, although we
Mm.
did have several screenings where the filmmakers came. They talked after the film.
Like watch parties or something like that. Yep.
Exactly. So we did several of those, which was really great. And then we also had a couple panels. So we taped the panels, and we interviewed as many of the filmmakers that were available given time zones and everything, but there was a large chunk of them that were able to participate in interviews, which was great. And we do plan to release on some type of podcast, so they'll get another sort of go at exposure through that as well.
Hmm.
So there was quite a lot of activities and ways that we look to showcase them and their work.
So as you kind of told the story of, being at home during the pandemic, consuming a lot of media, finding like outlets really in social media, ways to connect with folks. And then as you jump to this kind of festival, this is where I hear now you're like, okay, people are talking about DAOs. There's like metaverse application, there's NFT creators there. What for you, when did Web3 come into your sphere, and like I'd love to hear how that happened for you, like just tell that story a little bit. I'm very curious about everybody's kind of story of stumbling into this magical world.
Yeah, I guess for me, I'll have to start off by just saying that I love technology.
Mhm.
I grew up building computers with my dad, and
That's
so
awesome.
I've always been really into the sort of new things and
Mhm.
having fun and learning and building stuff. And even though I'm terrible at coding, I have taken a lot of coding, and I first took my first coding class 20 years ago. So I'm by no means good at it. But I've always had a really serious, enjoyment and passion for this.
Yep.
And so, for me, I just look at it as like another cool sort of it's like an exploration, if you will, of
Yep,
a
totally.
unknown destiny and an untrodden path yet, which I find
Fascinating
extremely
territory.
exciting. Exactly, it's exciting and it's fun and it's wonderful. And I mean, there is a lot of joy in being able to co-create and to do something new that hasn't been done. There's something very satisfying about that. It's hard to like explain, but it's probably the creator inside of me that
Mhm.
is just like, oh, thank you, like something new to get to try a new challenge and to bring something to life is absolutely amazing. It's so fulfilling. And so I guess, to answer your question about why the metaverse, I think because it is like connection, right? Like I'm able to like still go to places, even though I'm not really going to the places, but I literally go and I meet people, which is so cool. I've been to like networking events and mixers and
Mhm.
stuff like that, and parties and, workshops and all kinds of stuff in the metaverse, and
Yep.
it's so fun. So,
Well, and so many people that are probably even listening have very little conception of this. It's still very early. We had a buddy of mine that was on a few episodes ago, Adam Mangana, just started the first VR charter school in Florida where kids are actually meeting the classrooms. And what's crazy about it, he demoed it with me while we were on the show, and like they have a classroom setting where they meet, like, you know, like you do this, so, you know, you could set the terrain, but like they can go sit in the Coliseum where they're studying that history, or they could go, you know, they take them to Mars where they're studying Mars, or that, like, they can put in the ability to place folks in all of these different arenas is so just intriguing. And people have no idea the revolution that, like, what the amount of tectonic change that this is implied in our ability to do this. It's absolutely mind-blowing. But I do want to echo the question, because it is why, but it was how. Like so you're like, I've been into tech forever. Are you like I was in 2013, was into Bitcoin, like how far back with like blockchain or Web3 is we're a little more like, we're a couple years into the evolution of like even an identity around this space that's beyond like people trading cryptocurrencies. And these are kind of merging a little bit in a way that makes a lot of sense and has a lot of possibilities. But like, when did that click for you? Or when did you start paying attention to, let's say, blockchain, metaverse, like all these kind of things?
yeah, I mean, blockchain for several years, only because, like, you know, being in New York, and then also having a lot of friends that went to go work in, you know, fintech. So that was like, yeah, many years at this point. So really at kind of the nascent, one of my friends at that point had gone to go work at Gemini, for example, and just as it was getting started, and you know, and just really learning about like a crypto exchange and like what that was, and kind of like really just getting interested in that stuff. And again, it's just a natural sort of curiosity. It's not like I was an expert or anything like that at all. But it was just a genuine interest in it and a passion for learning about it. And, you know, when I get excited about something, that's how I am. I just dive right in, and I'm like,
stop
hey,
sleeping.
Really
I got so much to learn and explore.
Exactly. And you know, YouTube doesn't really help in a way. I mean, it does, but it doesn't, because it's like, you know, you go down a rabbit hole and, you know, you start learning, and then you go to more events. And I you know, New York was great for that. I went to a lot of like you know, General Assembly put on like so many events. I went to those. I was on all these startup listservs, so I would get like all their emails about different, you know, tech events. So literally like every night I basically would go and learn. It was like my own mini university, if you will, which is just, you know, panels and networking and having fun. And I really loved it. So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
I saw on your Twitter profile NFTs for freedom. Tell me about that. I'm very intrigued by even just the handle itself. I'm like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. Let's figure that out.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I have to give credit where credit is due. So that is Steve Ryan. And for those of you who may or may not know Steve, Steve is an incredible singer, songwriter, artist himself, creator, you know, best-selling author, USA and Wall Street Journal best-selling author, so many accolades, you know, entrepreneur, business coach. I mean, he does a lot of different things. I think he literally doesn't sleep. And he decided that he wants to do something for creators, which is also amazing. And so he basically created a project which literally just started minting. So fresh off the mint, so great timing.
It's minting now?
Yeah, it's minting now. So pre-sale
Nice.
is minting now. So if you mint, you actually get a 0.02 discount if you start minting, so 0.05 for the mint. And it basically goes to support creators. So we are really fortunate to be one of the creators that got selected.
Okay.
As a beneficiary for the project, and also Dragon Forge as well. So
That's
both
awesome.
of us got picked. And so we're going to be in the documentary, which will get released at some point also, that goes along with the project. And then also just, you know, again, it's Steve's way of just helping to support creators, which I think this what he's doing is it's just it's going to be life-changing for people.
So incredible.
Yeah.
Let's go back in time a little ways. So if you take yourself back as far as you can remember, what is your earliest memory of work? Or even when the word itself started taking on meaning in your life? Just like tell me about early memories of like your understanding of what work is.
I guess as a kid, I always wanted to be a teacher.
Mm.
So when I was younger, I guess that was my concept of work. I always thought when I grew up, it's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And that was my first concept of work. And so I guess for me, like when I think about that, it's when I was younger, it felt very like a means to an end. Whereas now it feels a lot more meaningful, a lot different. Although work is a tricky word, and it's probably there's like there's so many connotations about the word work, and I think it's in the beholder of the word, right? Because it can feel like work, like something that you have to do, or it can feel like this is work, but it's like a joy. And I think again, it's how you feel about it. It's how you internalize it, how you view it. I guess, yeah, I mean, when I think about, when I first started, quote, working, I guess I was pretty young. I've had a lot of jobs growing up. I mean, a lot of stuff, it was like, first started as like a tutor, and then
Tutor in what?
Just like school stuff. Like I was,
Okay.
I was
like, I'm just
tutor.
smart. I can help you with all that.
Yeah, I just help people.
Awesome.
So that was like my first kind of job. And then like later I went to go work, actually, like my mom used to work at like a school supplies company that like put educational materials together for teachers. So I went to go work there, doing various non-exciting things. And then, like later I just did a lot of, then I sort of switched. I did stuff in healthcare. So I worked at a lot of healthcare related things. But, I think at the same time, like I've always been one that does a lot of multitasking in my life.
Yep.
Which does tie in actually to why our company is called HYPHENOVA. And it's really a tribute to the multi-hyphenates. So people who do lots of different things. And I feel like I can relate to that because I never was the type of person to just do one thing. I always would get bored if I did just one thing. And so I'd find ways to stay entertained, learn something new. So
this is a new word for me, multi-hyphenate.
Yes.
Someone with several professions or skills.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly. Yes.
I'm very intrigued by this.
Yes. And so HYPHENOVA is a tribute to the creators inside of us who are multi-hyphenates and do lots of things. There might be a singer, and they're also like a magician, and and then they're a writer, right? So and also, if you think of a multi-hyphenate, it's also like a cultural thing. You could be a multi-hyphenate individual. And then the hyphenova like is a play off of hypernova, like a supernova. So it's kind of like a combustion of all these wonderful talents that people have inside of them coming to life. So that's really the genesis of the name HYPHENOVA. It's the spirit behind an explosion of multi-talented individuals and the creation of something new and better for society. So,
man, this is so intriguing. I love this concept. I often wonder, so I'll ask you this, because when you say like, and the example you used actually was like, you said someone's a creator, and then you went and listed a bunch of different, what would you, mediums, right? With which they create. And often, I know that this has been something in my own life where it's like, man, you're doing this, you're doing all these different things. Like, how do you keep up with all these different things? Someone might ask, and it's weird. So personally, I've always thought, well, it's really one thing. And I'm curious, do you see that? So like, as you framed it, you went creator, and then you listed a bunch of things. I'm curious, like, just to unpack your thoughts about multi-hyphenate, like doing lots of things. And then do you think there is, in most cases, an underlying singularity or something like that? I don't know, unpack that maybe for yourself a little bit.
Yeah, I actually, that's such an interesting point. I might have to really give it some thought. I do think that there is a lot of complexity there, right? Because people love to use labels, and I think
Yep.
um I try to shy against labels, which is probably why I thought of the word multi-hyphenate, because I hate feeling
Take them
constrained.
all. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so for me, it's like a shedding of those labels and being like, yeah, I could be everything. I could be anything I want. And it doesn't have to have like just one word to describe you
Yep.
or describe myself, right? And I think that is the human experience, actually. When I really think about it, it's like we are these multifaceted individuals. We have so many complexities inside of us. I think society loves to force us to try to pick one, because if you don't pick one, you're like, it's kind of like, well, what's wrong with you? Or why can't you pick one? Or why, what, but I just refuse to live that way, where we feel compelled to have to pick. And I think even if someone came to me and literally said, you must pick one, I'd be like, no, I won't, because there's so many things that bring me so much joy. And I see that in other people too. I think when you force people to do that, you're losing part of your soul, your internal drive, if you will. And we're all creative, but it's just maybe in a different way. And I think I talked to some of my friends who are sort of the creatives that you sort of think on TV. They're like, oh, I'm a painter. So I'm just gonna make something up right now, right? But just but let's put it this way: I don't have any of those skills. Like, I'm definitely not a painter, right? If you saw me put Pictionary or try to paint something, you would run out of the room, right? But my friends who do have those skills, they always remind me, they say, no, but you have creativity. It just comes out in a different kind of way.
Right.
And I really, I have to remind myself of that too, that creativity comes in so many different flavors and stripes, right? Like it's not just like one type. So yeah, I think this is just, it's a tribute to all of those types of creativities.
All right, I'm going to try something, and this might meander a little bit because I want to wrestle with this idea a little bit and do my best here. So, because I agree with everything you're saying, and I think society is like, you need to pick one. This is like something I'd be like, absolutely not. Like, I'm gonna, and even the organization that we've built, like we run a bike shop and we have community gardens, and we're like, every day you can like need a different outfit or wear, just be in a different space, doing different things. And yet I would say there's something in me as an identity or as here we go. So I agree with you in terms of like a job or a career path, or like you just need to decide and go that way and like stick it out. That's, I would say, very bad advice to a human being in general. Like you should be free, first of all, and then you can be free to change your mind, free to shift things up, and then free to like shift domains where maybe domain expertise in one place gives you fresh perspective in another place, right? But there's these words that exist. So the one that comes to mind related to work is often like vocation, right? And that word, as like an etymology, like the word comes from like voice or calling. So people talk about their calling. Different cultures have different ways of describing this thing, but it pops up a lot, right? And it's interesting to me, like even to say something like, well, we're all creative. So I was like, well, that's actually a broad statement. We are all actually one thing, that statement. And I'm like, I actually agree with you. I think we're built to create, and in many ways to contribute, to create. And it is expressed in many, many different ways. So I'm like, I agree with you in the specific sense of like the limitations of that. But then there's also something on the like vote. So there are times where here's an example. Someone said this to me one day and I like echo it. You pick up mantras along the way. Someone said, beware of distractions that look like opportunities, right? There's actually some times where it's like, no, this is the thing that I'm doing, and that'll take me away from the thing that I'm doing. Whereas like, and there are people in my life that might say, man, this Web3 thing's really distracted you. And I'm like, no. This maps perfectly with what I've been doing. I just haven't figured the tool out yet. But I promise you that it'll map to the vocation, to the deeper work, the path that I've been on, not because I feel a need to explain to anyone, because I don't, but because I go, no, I am actually, I'm not trying to, I do have some targets in mind kind of down the road for me. And I'm curious, maybe let me say one more thing, and it hopefully there's like, you're catching on a question embedded in all this. The other thing was like, people would ask, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? Which I've always hated that question, right? Because it's like, pick one, I'm gonna be a teacher, but then also like it wraps identity and jobs in a way that it seems dangerous. Like, I know we get tied up in that, but like, rather than saying like, what kind of person do you want to be? What kind of contribution do you want to make? And then there are jobs that might map to those paths, but it's a little bit, to me, a broader question than asks about like your heart, your dreams, your passion, your vocation, your skills, whatever, some overlap of a lot of these things. Does that nuance the way that question landed to you at all? And then like, I don't know, just react to some of that. Cause I didn't know how to bottle that all into a concise question. So I figured I'd just like babble about it a little bit and see if it made sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me. And in fact, a lot of cities I've lived in, the first question they ask you is, what do you do?
What do you do? I do all kinds of stuff.
Exactly. And that whole
You still do that. That's right.
one, you know, who you are is what you do, and vice versa.
Mhm.
I mean, I could probably go on a long rabbit hole about this too. And
Feel free.
You know, it is really, I think that's part of what's wrong with society, right? Because it goes back to like why we have to constantly chip away at perceptions. It's like, once you say, quote, what do you do? There's so many things that just get layered on top of you, layered on top of you.
That's right.
And judgments are just made. And then if you don't, you know, if you maybe for whatever reason don't have quote unquote a job at that very moment in time, suddenly
lots of friends with no jobs. Yeah.
Exactly. Suddenly you're just thought of as like not a valuable member of society. And there's so much stigma attached to that. It's just it's crazy, right? And even though really in reality it could happen to any one of us for any reason.
That's right.
And yeah, I could go on a long rant about this, but it's just it goes back to the NFTs for freedom. I mean, we need the freedom to break free of those kinds of things and to not have to live our lives according to all these standards, all these things that quote unquote society says that is the right way to do it. And the thing about the at least in Western society, so I have to even caveat this, but in the Western American society, it's so strong to like live your life a certain way. You do this, and then you do this as the next phase in your life, to then go off and do this, and then and so on and so forth. And if you didn't check all those boxes or do all those things, it's like suddenly you're like so different, and it feels so like stifling. And it's just, instead of like nurturing those differences and creativities and those desires in people, I just feel like we'd be so much further along as a society, as a humanity.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. And though you saying that roadmap laid out for us, the word that came to mind was prescribed. Like, this is the path for you. This is a prescribed, like a script written for you, like a prescription. And then it's funny to me, but I go, man, am I really think about like the most heroic of people that I look up to? When I really think about people that really made a difference, when I really think about change makers, heroes, I go, those lives can only be described. Like after, like later, you can like unpack them. You can excavate wisdom from them. Often we find things like catastrophe at the heart of them, like unprescribable stuff, like major loss, major pain, major trauma, things that you would not prescribe to anyone. You would not wish upon anyone. And yet so much greatness in the world is born out of those things that you would never prescribe. You would never give as good medicine to anyone. But when you describe the lives of phenomenal people, often you find that there's like these themes that emerge that you might not ever wish on your children or something like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's not a coincidence that when you look at some of society's greatest advances, whether it's just amazing human beings that have just walked on this planet, right, or amazing things that have been created or progress that has been made in any kind of area of life, usually it does come out of some sort of challenge or difficult time or something. And you know, you even look back at like the financial crisis, you look back even the pandemic, you're going to see rebirths. And it's usually what happens because you society, people were at the heart of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know that we have to collectively make progress, and it's just that it's always defined differently for each of us, but there is this innate thing, I think, inside of all of us, which doesn't let us to get beat down. And I think that is why you see coming out of these difficult times, things that just maybe prior were thought to be unheard of or not yet seen. And so I'm very confident in the next, 3 to 5 years, we're going to see some incredible things and incredible human beings that we don't even know their names yet. But we will. So
as you, I think most of us that would resonate with most people listening to, if you think about your own life, if you think about your own life, you, like for me, my car accident where I smashed every bone in my face, this is all metal plating, all this, just completely crushed myself when I was 17 in a car accident. Was the worst thing that ever happened to me. And I do not want to go through that again. Like, I'm like, if you hit something, hit it hard, make it count. Like, I'm not trying to walk away a second time, but it's also the best thing that's ever happened to me. It shaped me. I am who I am because of that, because of the pain, because of that time in a wheelchair, because of the all of the psychic and physical stuff, turmoil that I had to go through. It produced something in me that I'm quite happy with and quite proud of even. And I think it is why I do the work that I do. It ties back on, if you follow the trajectory of my life, it shaped everything that I do to this day. I'm curious for you, as we think about that, because I'm like, this is probably true for most people. Like, I would say the way I'd shorthand it is the worst thing that ever happened to you is often the best thing that ever happened to you. And I'm just curious, you talk about like coming through struggle and rebirth. Is there any like stories that pop out in your memory of like a really hard obstacle, challenge, or thing that you faced that like in the end you'd say, man, thank God that happened, even though I wouldn't wish that on anyone or something?
yeah, I mean, I've definitely had my fair share of different challenges. I feel like all of us have,
That's
and
right.
I don't think we could live our life and say we haven't had any challenges.
Right.
I mean, I think in a lot of ways I've been very, very, very blessed, right? I still count my blessings no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely have had like my fair share of like personal challenges, health related challenges. I mean, even right now I have so many things that just maybe I might look like everybody else, but I have my own things going on inside,
Right.
medically that I deal with, and that just make my life more difficult, but at the same time, like, I never try to go like, woe is me, or because I still know that in general, I have it better than so many people on this planet. So lucky, so lucky, so appreciative, right? So I don't like to try to go there because
Yeah, that's right.
you know,
Well, it's really interesting. So you seem very good at framing. So like, as you said, like, count my blessings, not to say woe is me. I'm so well off when I look at the condition of so many people that are on this planet. And I mean, the reality is we're sitting here talking on Zoom with internet, electricity, that just puts us at the tippy top, right, of even the entire planet in terms of access and the ability to do this, the time to do this, the health to do this. And then I was thinking back when you were talking about work, you did the same thing there. You're like, well, work takes on all these meanings. And it's kind of at the heart of why I wanted to do the work ethic podcast, is like, I want to talk about work. You know, I work with, I have a lot of friends that don't have employment. They live on the streets. They live under bridges, nobody's hiring them. But they work their faces off, you know, to survive, to take care of each other, to overcome the hardship of living in like the Florida heat or whatever. There's so many obstacles. And I was like, man, there is something like work and job need to be decoupled. But like, back to what I was saying, like the way you frame things matters. And what I hear is like a kind of a meta lesson as you're talking. You said, well, it depends how you look at work. Well, it depends how you look at those hardships. It depends, I need to count my blessings and remember that people have it worse. Can you speak more explicitly to that lesson of perspective? Because that seems like something I'm picking up on kind of as you're sharing, that you're very intentional about how you frame and the perspective you take on life and work and the projects ahead of you.
Yeah, I would just say that, yeah, mindset and perspective is, I think, probably the most powerful thing that I know I have. And for many people, they are blessed with that. And it's by making that conscious decision to like think about how you're thinking about things, which I'm not saying is easy, because at least for me, it's not easy. This is not like, oh, I just wake up and I'm like this. No, like, I'm just like everybody else. Yeah. Like I have emotions just like everybody else, or I'll get short fused, or I'll get frustrated or disappointed or whatever it is. Like I'm just like any other human being with a range of emotions. Right. And so, but I do have to actively work, it's about podcast about work. And I would say that's actually work for me. That's right. To really like think about these things and to, but when I do, it's very rewarding because it reminds me, it's like this conscious decision of like why framing it this way is really important, or why I need to think about something a certain way. It triggers something inside of me that, propels me forward.
Yeah.
Instead of getting stuck. And that's what gets me unstuck out of stuff. But it is hard. It's super hard.
Do you have any practices or exercises or little hacks, like little things that you do to kind of help yourself kind of shift gears when you need to do that kind of mental shift?
Yeah, I do tell myself things sometimes. That definitely helps. Some of the things that I do remind myself of is that I can still control how I react to things. Meaning like, I don't have to just, even if something bad happens, I don't have to be at the whim of that, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And that, I can only control certain things. I think even knowing that can really help, because then it's like, okay, well, I just keep going with stuff that I can do. And probably not be so hard on myself. And that is probably the hardest one of all of them. It's that one. Anyone who knows me, if they ever talk to you or talk to anybody who knows me, they'll say I have really high standards. People like to remind me this all the time, which generally sometimes can be good, but sometimes it is a challenge, because, I will be really hard on myself even. And I have to learn to like forgive myself even, and to be like, hey, you know what, go easy, go easy on yourself, and just allow space for that sort of acceptance and forgiveness.
No, it's so true. It's so true. There's like a real tension in like having those standards and going, I want to master something. And then at the same time, not allowing your worth and identity to get wrapped up in those efforts to go, yeah, let me try really hard to do really well. And then also when I like stumble and fall, I'm like, yeah, well, you tried really hard and really well, and then you fell. No big deal. let's get up and dust off. And
Exactly.
the conscious decision and I mean the wisdom really of saying like I can control how I react. Um, it's actually, I think that is the word responsibility. Like you're able to your responsibility, you're able to respond, you're able to choose how you respond. And are you familiar with I really like this. So Viktor Frankl, are you familiar with him? So Viktor
No.
Frankl was I want to say Austrian, I may get that wrong, psychotherapist that well, he's a Jewish man, and he was in 4 concentration camps, he survived through the Holocaust. And he lost all of his life's work kind of while he was in there. But he had stuff in his head, things he'd been studying, learning, whatever. And he he's the inventor of what became known as logotherapy, but the idea of like the therapy of meaning. So so he has a book called Man's Search for Meaning, which is like a memoir of his time in the concentration camps. There's another book called Will to Meaning, which is just like finding purpose and meaning in things. And he uses his time in the concentration camps, just observations he made. He's like, all these just ordinary, like good Jews. They're all good Jews. All these folks come in here, great people, great neighbors, no big deal. They just got round up. And he's like, but then these horrible circumstances like expose something in people. And some people who are like, I'll do anything it takes to survive, would collude with the Nazis, would steal from their brothers and sisters, they became horrible. And he's like, and then others became like heroic angels, like would give their last morsel of bread to the person next to them, and he's like, he's like, I can't stop thinking about this. Like, what's the difference? Why did ordinary people transform so drastically different because of the situations? Anyway, I really encourage everybody to look him up and read his work. He's a guy that I'm really blown away by. But freedom and responsibility is he would be considered what they'd call like an existentialist existential psychologist. But one of his like final conclusions is that the way I don't know if this is an exact quote, but the way I remember it is the last bastion of human freedom is the decision of how you will respond. Because he's like, every human freedom, you could be locked in a cage, you could be put in a concentration camp, but how you respond actually can never be taken from you in the face of death. It's just like, that is actually where, like, when it's all taken away. And as you just said that, I'm like, yeah, it's so, I mean, you said it almost identically. Like, I know that I can control how I react. And I'm like, man, what that took some people to come to realize, like how hard of a realization that can be for so many of us. But at some level, I'm like, it's just profoundly wise and impressive, just hearing go like, yeah, well, if I recognize this, then I could do what I could do about what I can do something about, and then recognize what is outside my control. Did you find that somewhere? Does that emerge just out of your own conversation, or are you like, is that
Just
something
the
you
way I view things, but I am definitely going to check out that book though.
Oh yeah, it'll blow your mind. It'll blow your mind. Man's Search for Meaning is the memoir, and then Man's Search for Ultimate Meaning, which is one that I prefer, but that's not, it's because I like Man's Search for Meaning is stories. Like, it's like, this is what happened in the concentration camp. It's a memoir, and it's a super famous book. Man's Search for Ultimate Meaning, he wrote later, and it's theoretical, and it's about it's actually a development of his, I think his thesis was called The Unconscious God or something like that. But it gets a little more like transcendent, like philosophical, whatever. And I love that book just because it's a topic of major interest for me.
Wow.
How about in your life, like, who, just as I kind of share that with you, has there been any like figures, historic or real, like someone you just look to in history or across the world that's alive but not in a concrete relationship, but you have access through YouTube or Twitter or something, or a person tangibly in your life or neighborhood? Are there a couple people that have like been majorly like influential that you go, yeah, that I'm trying to model myself after some things I've seen in these heroes of mine?
Really tough question. I have a weird opinion about heroes, but
Oh, bring it on. I love this.
I mean, I think we all, okay. I told someone this other day, because I definitely have, I guess, my own version of a hero, but that would be like my dad. And I can explain why in a minute,
Yeah, I'd
but
love
I
to.
guess when I think of the word hero, I also just told someone the other day that like I just feel like we are the people that we've been waiting for our whole lives. Like I think that sometimes if we idolize heroes too much, um, it can hamper people feeling like they can make a difference themselves or they can make the change in the world because they're waiting for someone else to do it for them.
Oh, let me ask you a question because there's a word thing
Mhm.
here. We do think of heroes as like, here I come to save the day. And someone comes in like, oh, my hero rescued me. And in that case, I'm like, yes, for sure. And maybe I use hero and mean to use hero. And I think this also, but in the sense of like, and in the way that if you're a young child and you're learning to dance, you look at someone who's dancing and you try to make your body do what their body's doing. Like humans learn by modeling behavior, right? And I will tell you, there are definitely people that I look to in my life to go, that person has figured out a way. They're mature in a way that I would like to be. They're like me, like, and this isn't a way to say something negative against myself or to put any kind of like someone needs to come do this for me, but to go like, I want to dance like they dance. If that's a fine way to put it, is like, man, there's a mastery that they have. And I'm going to see if I can do what they do with my voice or my body or my, there's a lot of like prophetic figures. I mean, take like a Martin Luther King Jr., right? And someone who would like speak in a way that is brave and articulate and intelligent and philosophically consistent and under the threat of death at every turn, going, I will say what is true, even to this powerful figure. And I'm like, man, I hope that when I come face to face with the powers, that I could say what is true boldly and articulately, that kind of thing. So react to that, because I want to just tease apart the hero idea here a little bit.
Yeah, I love this conversation, by the way.
Good, me too. I'm having a good
It's
time.
like really cool. Yeah, I mean, I think this is the thing, right? Like you said, when you're a child and you like look up to someone, and that hero can be anybody, right? I mean, it could be a hero in a movie, right? It could be a hero. I mean, gosh, it could be like literally your kid brother. It could be your
That's
friend down
right.
the street,
That's
right?
right.
Like it really could be anybody. I do think that like a lot of times, I mean, it's a source of positivity, first of all, which I think is really great. I think that is something that's really wonderful. I just, I just, I would want someone to be filled with the confidence though, knowing that like it's that you don't feel like they're on another pedestal from you and that they are not
That's right.
reachable. And I
That
think
is
that
dangerous. That's right. That is
exactly,
very dangerous.
and that's to me the tricky part here. And
Yeah.
always making sure that it isn't some sort of idol worship
Yeah.
and more like, hey, I just really appreciate and value and I do look up to you in a way that is like out of respect and out of the things that I really appreciate about you, but not to my own personal detriment, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No,
Yeah.
it's so good.
Yeah.
Tell me about your dad.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say my dad is like a really inspiring kind of a person. I mean, he's got his own interesting life story and I also just think that the way that he connects with people is just really amazing. It's just being able to connect with people from around the world, no matter who they are, no matter where they come from, is something that I've watched him do, and he does it with such ease. I'm not sure how he does it with such ease, but it's really incredible. And it's not just like, oh, like really superficial. It's like he really knows how to connect and he has a gift of story. He has the gift of conversation and connectivity. And and getting to know someone on that level that is just like very, very special. I think, you know, um, we all have our gifts, right? And that's definitely my dad's gift is
Mm.
understanding people. And yeah, I love that about him.
Yeah, that is it's an enviable skill set too, right?
Yeah.
Like it just the ability to empathize, the ability to perceive, to have discernment. It's a gift.
It is a gift. It is a gift.
Have
Yeah.
you on the hero thing? I just pulled this up. Did you ever hear you reminded me of this. I haven't thought of this in years. This is from like 2014. Did you ever hear Matthew McConaughey's like hero speech? They asked him like, who's your or like who's your hero? So you so he said, so there's a speech. It's actually at the Oscars. So he's like, there's three things that I need every day. One is something to look up to, something to look forward to, and something to chase, someone to chase, or something like that. And then he's like, I'll just I'm going to skip these first two. First is like, I look up, and he's like, God first, I look up to. And he's like, my family is what I look forward to. Like after a day's work, I want to be with my family, whatever. But then hold on. And he said, oh, and then my hero, someone to who I chase is my hero. And I'm just going to read you this little section. He said, when I was 15 years old, I had a very important person in my life come to me and ask me, who's your hero? And I said, I thought about it, and it's me in 10 years. And so I turned 25 10 years later, and the same person comes to me and says, are you a hero? I said, I'm not even close. And she said, why? And I said, because my hero is at 35. You see, every day and every week and every month and every year of my life, my hero is always 10 years away from me. I'm never going to be my hero. I'm not going to obtain that. And that's fine with me because it keeps me with someone that I will always be chasing, me in the future.
So incredible. Wow.
Does that resonate?
It's like, whoa.
Yeah, it stuck with me. I remember hearing it, and I was like, wow, that dude just got up and gave a little sermon at the Oscars or whatever. It was incredible.
Whoa. Get some life advice right there. Watching the Oscars.
That's yeah, right. Unexpected places.
Unexpected gems being dropped there. Yeah, no, that's amazing though. That is a really amazing wisdom, truly though. And yeah, I can only hope that I'll be chasing myself in 10 years.
I love it.
It's amazing.
What's your connection with Dragon Forge?
Yeah, so I'm helping with the project. So I'm like project manager, and
that's awesome.
Looking to support it and doing what I can to help out. And it's an amazing project, by the way. And maybe I can do a little shout out for the Dragon Forge folks.
Just tell everybody listening all about it.
Amazing. Yeah, it's an amazing project. So Emrys is the artist, Emrys Zato, and another person who I met on Twitter, and I can thank social media for that. I met him and we connected, and he is just an amazing visionary, an amazing creative. And we want to do something to change media. And not only do I love the look of the dragons, of course, I think they're awesome. Really cool, and they're definitely awesome. But I just really like him as a person and as a friend. And then what he's looking to do and what I'm looking to do just was a really amazing thing that coincided together, and wanting to just say, hey, what, creators can do this, and that we can break through and do something new. And so we're creating an animated series to animate the dragons, and we've got some amazing collaborations underway, and a lot of things will be announced in the next few weeks, and that we're doing, and bringing some really great top level partners that are looking to do things with us. If you had asked me a year ago, would I be doing this? No.
Right. No. Yeah. What? I'd be doing what?
Exactly. So that whole, Matthew McConaughey, what are you going to be doing in the future? Yeah. Never would have dreamt of this in a million years. But it is so exciting, and it's so wonderful. And the people that are part of it are just really, really great humans, really ethical, which, I know a lot of people talk about that in the NFT space, and I will say that they are really good people.
Yeah. I've been really impressed with the spaces I've been able to join. The whole crew just seems amazing.
They're amazing. They are amazing people. Yeah.
So for those listening, if someone's like, yo, I want to like, where can they just tell us where to find it. Like, is it available yet? Is it like, just where can people read more about it or find y'all?
So, yeah, I mean, basically, if you go to jointhequest.app, you'll learn about Dragon Forge. And then we're also, of course, on Twitter. So dragonforge_NFT, or you just Google Dragon Forge, they'll pop up. You can follow us there. We also have a very active Discord. You can hopefully hop in there and be part of our community. And then we also have a TikTok as well for Dragon Forge. And then for hype stuff, we're at On the Hype for everything, for social media. And then our website is hyp.tv as well, so they can find us there. A quick shout out to a couple of the other projects we're working on. We're doing a Black History project as well, which will be a short form media series. We also distribute a podcast called Underestimated with a Black VC, X Factor Capital, which highlights Black founders. And we are also working on a sports podcast in conjunction with a Spotify creator named Max as well. And we're really excited about that too. So quite a bit of different things going on in the works at Hype. And we've secured distribution on Roku and Amazon Fire. So we are also actively creating content and also looking for content to put onto the platform that will dovetail with our metaverse and other things that we're going to be offering in the very short term. So
do me a favor, rewind that a little bit and flesh some of those out. We've got some time for it. That was a lot. And I'm like, wait, I want to tell me about that podcast. Tell me about the Black history. I was like, just, okay. I wasn't trying to, I just was wanted to give you a spot to plug Dragon Forge, but I want to hear about all of those things. If you're good on time, can you flesh those out? Cause that was so many exciting things. I'm like, what? No, we're going to do that again. Cause I was trying to write them down. I'm like, no, I can't even do this. Well, let's go back. I want folks to be able to like drink this in and really hear about all the amazing projects you guys are working on.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of really cool things. So I guess the first one I'll talk about is the podcast, because we had season 1. It's called Underestimated. You can find it on Apple as well as all the other major podcast platforms. It's a video podcast. X Factor Capital basically gives you a slice of life with these different founders, and they really talk about their company, and it's really meant to help to showcase them and to really get to the heart of who they are as people, but also their business, which is really important to help them to get funded. So that's what we do. And it's been amazing. I hope people go there and check out their stories, listen to them. They've got some incredible people on there, and to support those founders, hit them a follow, show them some love on social media. It all counts. It all goes a long way. I'm sure they would appreciate it. And if you even have companies that you're interested in, definitely check them out. Some of them are sustainable in the green space, doing a lot of really good things for the world. So
I'm really excited to look at this podcast. And I want to ask you a clarifying question. You're like, there's something we're doing and then they're doing, and like going back and forth between the first person plural and the second or whatever. And like, what is Hype's kind of role with the podcast? It sounds like someone out there doing the podcast, or just
so they
what's the
put it
relationship?
together. Yeah, they put it together and we distribute it for them.
Okay.
And then we were helping them at the beginning, conceptualizing it. And then, we have some ideas in the future for season 2, where we can take their video content and do some more amazing things with it. So the sky's the limit, really, with the podcast. So we're very excited about that.
I love it.
Yes. And then with the other things that we're working on, they're in the sort of, I'd say, early stage right now. So with the Black History Show, that one we're working with 2 Black owned production companies. And this is, you can
Black owned what? I'm sorry.
Production companies.
Okay. Yep.
Yes. So you can kind of imagine short form social media type content. Probably not going to go into a lot of detail right now because we're still doing a lot of things in the creative IP stage for it. But we're very excited about that. And that one will come to life at some point in the, I'd say within the next, couple quarters. And so we're really, really looking forward to seeing that come through. And that will be really a tribute to a lot of a lot of important things that have happened in history that people don't know has happened, and really shining the light on just things that maybe we weren't taught, that we didn't know about, and that are more on the pop culture spectrum. So very human interest kind of things.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we're really excited about that. And then the sports show is going to be very, very different. So we're working with a Black creator who's a Spotify creator. And this is also going to be taped live on Spotify. And then we're going to turn into a podcast afterwards as well. And that's really going to be focused more on the heart of the athlete, coaching, the relationships. So not so much about like the reporting of the sports, but more about the journey. And my hope is that people who maybe aren't considered athletes, or maybe they don't even consider themselves athletic, will still really enjoy the stories, because again, it's going to be about stories and the emotion, and not about like making the goal or making the shot or any of that stuff. It's very different.
Is that creator still to be announced? Is that why?
That's going to be Maxwell Millington. So he's
Nice.
going to be the star of that one, but we also are going to have some co-hosts that will be part of it. So we're really excited about that, and some exciting guests coming up. So
man, that's incredible.
Yeah, so that one will be coming soon. And then, you know, just we've got some other big things in the works that we're working on. And I'm very excited. I'll be able to announce it probably in the next, you know, few months. We'll be able to some of the other things. I do want to give a shout out to a couple of our partners, because they've been amazing. One which is called Told Right. And they are a network of 2000 Emmy and Oscar winning creators and directors, producers, animators, and they have partnered with us on a number of different shows.
Told Right, like TOLD. Yep. Okay.
Yes, like You Tell Your Story, right? And they have been huge supporters of us, helping us as we go, connecting us with people, providing us support, and just been really, really amazing partners in this journey. So big shout out to them. And then we also have been working with a couple of different other partners as well, which we're going to go public with very soon on our website too. That'll be in the NFT space, and you know, onboarding creatives that are very, you know, excited about using NFTs to help, you know, their different projects, and we're excited to be able to help to support them.
I love it. And then you said something about you got I don't know exactly how you said that, but for Roku and Amazon to put up content.
We're gonna have a channel.
You're gonna have a channel. That's incredible.
We're gonna have a channel.
Is it gonna be hype.tv? Is that Hype TV or whatever?
It's gonna be a Hype TV channel.
I love it. When is that? When will that be up?
That will likely be 3Q, 4Q. We'll have the channel. So it's quite a lot of work going into having a channel.
Can't imagine. Yes. And then to keep the pipes filled, to keep it on without just rerunning the one show we made or whatever.
Yes, there's a lot of things that go into having the channel. So that is going to take us some time.
What a huge win though.
So, but yes, we're really excited about that.
God, that's big.
Yeah. So we're here, you know, we really are here to make change and to do something different in the industry and to do it differently. And like I said, I really do feel like an explorer.
Yep.
That goes out to conquer a new world. And you know, a lot of people talk about how Web3 is really inclusive and we need more people of color. And I just want to say that, you know, we're here walking the walk, and we want that, and we want to show people that that is doable and achievable.
Yeah. And
that, you know, a lot of people say things, but you know, I think it's really important that things actually happen and that progress.
So ripe with opportunity too. But you know, someone's got to kind of lay the groundwork, and getting the pipes built for this is incredible to go. Yeah, we can work with, you know, create an on-ramp for people that maybe have a real solid gift in creating, but then there's this entire other like technological hurdle that is seems quite a barrier, you know. Like I know for me, like it's just like there's so much, like, I'm learning a ton, but it's also like there's, when you really get down in the weeds of the actual tech, I'm like, man, this is there's so much I don't know. Right.
It's a barrier. I mean, I just onboarded one of my friends today for, talking about like MetaMask and how to use it and security. And I think we're going to have a second session, and
That's awesome.
it's just a lot, like, I mean, it's a great space, but there's a lot to take in. There's a lot to learn. So.
If you don't mind, because a lot of my listeners are here in Tampa, and I guess you don't need to be in Tampa for this, but we have like a weekly newsletter that we do just for like, it's mainly Tampa stuff, but we write like 4 columns. One of those is like a citizen spotlight. It's a lot of it's just like upcoming news, things like that. It's called Word on the Streets. But there's one of the columns I've been writing every week for. It's just called Down the Rabbit Hole, and it's a kind of a 101. So like one of the first posts was just like wallets, and it's just like, here, wallets. The next one, transactions. And so if you're listening and you're in that place, like, what's a MetaMask wallet, how do I set that up, security, it's a resource. The internet's full of them, but like word on the street.xyz, we have, if you find the little thread called Down the Rabbit Hole, which shouldn't be hard, just find one and click on that and it'll open them all up. But I've been trying to encourage everybody to start paying attention, at least get that piece set up. And I'm trying to go, well, here's some just step-by-step kind of like super one-on-one stuff as I'm learning it, trying to take those notes and write them down. And so if that's helpful to any of the folks we're onboarding, because it can seem, it isn't that hard once you do it. But as you are setting all of this up, it is quite confusing, or can be, or intimidating. And we're trying to create the tools for folks to be able to dip their toes in.
I love it. That's so amazing.
Yeah, no, isn't it exciting though? Like, I know a buddy of mine, we got like his wallet set up, and then I was like, man, I gotta I'm gonna like drop him like a NFT or something, just like find something to like it just like, here you go, like here's because it woke something up. He's like, well, now I should probably like jump in this Discord with the community, the people that have that, and just like but it's been really exciting just watching it click for people and the lights turn on, and it's wonderful. It's exciting.
Super exciting. It's amazing. Yeah, I'm just happy to see more people coming into the space and being part of something bigger. And I just am like, I'm like, yes, more people come. I think it's awesome. So
if you're good for like a little bit longer, I want to pick your brain while I got you about something. Yeah, so because you're in the space a little bit, and me even saying like, so I guess I'll tell you a little bit of like backstory first. So I years ago, there's a long story that I think I shared some of it on the Twitter space, and I don't need to re-say here, but the long story that led to me having some convictions about like folks living on the streets here in Tampa. We have a very large homeless population, and I just realizing, because I didn't grow up in a very poor neighborhood here in Tampa. I was kind of a suburb area where I grew up, and I was like, I need to move into this area, and I need to learn. I need to like go there and listen and learn. And I talked a handful of dudes. There's about 10 of us. We moved with college age. We moved into a house that we rented together on this really rough block in kind of downtown Tampa. And we just, we could live on very little because there was enough of us in a cheap house with 10 of us living there, splitting rent, could live for like $100 a month, whatever. And we just said, look, we're going to go to college, but then we're going to like, as much as we can, just like make up excuses to hang out with and learn from folks around us and just be good neighbors. Like if we have resources that can help, there's a lot of homelessness there, but then there's a lot of folks just precariously housed. There's rooming houses, things like that. We started a little food pantry for folks that needed food. Honestly, it wasn't that big deal around food. And we still do this. I'm like, yeah, we have food. For me, it's always been about an excuse. That's like a ticket into a relationship. Like, oh, you need some food? Can we talk? Like, can I listen and learn and become a friend? And so we did that for years. But the reason I'm telling you all this is that group of guys formed what we were calling like an intentional community. So picture like a hippie commune, basically, right? And we chipped in on like rent, utilities, grocery money, whatever. So there was like what we call dues that we paid every month. Rather than paying rent, paying bills, we just paid dues, and we inflated the dues so that it would be like as much as we could afford. it paid all the stuff off communally, but then it left like a common purse. And then every Sunday night we had a meeting, and it was just us that would meet, and we would go down a list of things that we'd cover every time we met. We would go, hey, you know, what's up with chores? Where are we at with that? What about groceries next week? Just very practical things we need to talk about. Why do you keep messing this part of the house up? You know, little deal with any conflict or fights. But then also we would look at the money that we'd pooled, and we'd say, well, is there anything we should do? Like Fred's roof is leaking. Should we try to fix Fred's roof? Or, you know, it's been a while since we've had like a lot of neighbors over. Why don't we throw a block party? Or, you know, we had some convictions around like environmental stuff. So we were like, well, maybe we could make a solar hot water heater. So we usually use that money for projects like, can we limit our consumption of resources or grow some food? So we might buy some fruit trees or something with it. Or, but it was like pooled money. So no one had to like cough it up to do that. We just voted. And we did that for, I mean, years and years and years. And it was, in my mind, I thought, man, it's so incredible how much better we handle money when we all share it. So like that money on the table, we were way better stewards of than the money in my pocket, which we're going to go like get drinks later or something, right? Like we were just better with it because we'd already given it up. It's like, not mine, it's ours. And that mentality shift was really powerful. And I watched this group of guys do incredible things with that money, and we did it for a long time. And I was like, man, I just wish we could do this at a broader scale. Well, this is where, as I started learning about blockchain, NFTs, smart contracts, then DAOs, which I was like, that's what we were doing. We formed a little DAO. We didn't have any of this technology. We just went, hey, Will, don't screw up the money. But he held it. You know, it was like Will held the money. We trusted his spreadsheet, and he was a good dude and he did right by us or whatever. But like, wouldn't it be cool if we could do this at a broader scale? And now I see these, what in my mind, I go, these are giant intentional communities pooling large amounts of resources and being able to vote on like how we, and I'm like, oh, I know, I've known this for so long. Like this is, I'm going, you know, over a decade back when we were doing this. And so this is where my mind went, okay, there's a tool here for what something like, there was a way in which I reacted as if to say, I always believed in this. I've always believed in this. I just didn't know it existed. Right. And then as it emerged, I was like, this is what I was waiting on. And then, okay, so there's that. Now I still, the well and the work that we do is still like among and with the homeless, the working poor, folks for whom our economy does not work. People needing food, needing housing. It's just like left out of, like you had said earlier, well, if you don't have a job, you're like not valuable, not wanted. You know, if you don't have money in your pocket, it's like we don't value folks in our society based as human beings as much as based on like their ability to be consumers or buy something from us, which is tragic, but it is what it is. So now what I've been trying to contemplate is, because what I want to say to everyone in my city here in Tampa, hey, take some responsibility for the condition of our city. And like, we have neighbors in need, and we have, you know, kids in foster care, and there's like real need here in our community. But like, you have a guest room and you have an extra jacket and you've got more money in the bank than you're going to use. And you've got, and not to take it or tell people what to do, just to go, hey, think about what you have in your hands. And could any of it be made available to help make this city better, more well-built, more whole? Can we just be better neighbors? Right. Okay. So I've been running around saying that for a long, long time, trying to tell everyone, like, we need to, like, you can control how you respond to this, you know, homeless person in front of you or whatever. So now I can't quit beating my head on the wall as I'm learning about NFTs and Web3. One is like, I keep thinking, like, is there a way to use this technology to meet these needs? It's obvious to me that there is, but it isn't obvious to me how locally, how technically, how in terms of I conceptualize, like, I don't know, this NFT, this local Tampa only NFT drop. That's like an investment, an impact investment in your city, that just that pool then goes into like common goods for our blocks in our city. Like we can, and in my mind, I'm like, we could probably like replace City Hall if we really worked hard at this. But like, there's enough of like a background and a daydream. But as someone that's in the space, I'm just curious if if anything stands out in that, or you have like things to speak into it, because I don't know how to do that. right? But I like can't stop thinking about it because I'm like, this is going to help me with this. But I haven't been able to like, so I just, work on this all day and then go home and like be a geek on the computer all night and try to like learn as fast as I can to map those goals. And when I look at groups like you and On-Chain Monkey, and there's these projects that are going, we are leveraging this space to make impact and social good. And many of whom are doing it beyond just, that means we donate a big chunk of what we get to some nonprofit, which we could do, but I'm dreaming of something bigger, like real civic engagement for like everyone in a city or in a country or in a whatever that would buy in on that. Just what do you hear in that? And like any advice for me?
Well, first of all, I think that's incredible wow. I mean, you're definitely onto something. I think my first reaction is just thinking like, it's the blending. I mean, there is the problem you identified, and then there are these different technologies out there. I think when I think of a DAO, I think of a few things. Like I think there's the governance side of things that you're getting at, which is like, you didn't even need blockchain to do the things that you already had achieved. Like you said, you guys just communally pooled the money.
Well, we were in the same room. It made it easier, right? It would be
Right.
tough if they were in Wisconsin, but that's right. That's right. Vote
Yeah.
on it. Do what you said you're going to do.
Exactly.
Just participatory democracy.
Exactly. And I think that to me would be the starting point though, because like with the tech stuff, there could be a lot of barriers. So I would maybe start with that before just saying that everyone had to suddenly have access to a blockchain or get access to a wallet and all this stuff, because I think it'll be really hard. But not to say that couldn't be part of it, but I just think that
it would have to evolve into.
It'd have to evolve. Yeah. And we'd have to think about like, how would you provide that access to people? And it's definitely doable, but there's a lot of stuff going into that. Right. But whereas I think, if at the end of the day, you want people to have a way to pool their funds or to support their own community. I mean, look, New York City during the pandemic, they weren't, I don't know what happened exactly, but they didn't have all the people they needed to keep the streets basically clean. So a lot of the neighbors just started going out. They literally divide up the blocks and they started cleaning their own streets. They had to.
Awesome.
Otherwise, like, it's going to be horrible. So, yeah. So, but they figured it out. There was like a communal organizational structure. When we had the power outage in New York, what we did was we activated just through the internet. People signed up for this website and they basically just said, hey, I have an apartment that is on the northern part of Manhattan that still has electricity. Because, we went for, at some point, I think maybe months, where people didn't have power for half of the city. So if people needed to like charge their cell phone or take a shower, anything really, they either had to like leave the city or they had to do these like communal living situations. So a lot of people use technology to help to identify people that could help them. And so I think when I think of things that you're identifying, well, I don't have an immediate solution that comes to mind.
This is great.
I do know that it's possible because I've seen in a city as large as New York City come together in times of need to mobilize millions of people to take action on something with basically their neighbors. So I know it's definitely doable. And I think it's incredible what you're trying to do. And I think there's a lot of people with heart and the funds that will want to do this, to do good in the world. I think it's just a matter of how you get the message out and how you like organize the people in order to do it efficiently in a way that it is participatory and also I call it safe, so that there's trust. And, I know people say, oh, it's the blockchain, but it's still humans. And like you said, the three of you guys, and that guy was a good guy. And so he spreadsheet and you could trust them, but I know some DAOs are using these communal wallets, but they're not without issues. And when there's money involved, there's always things that you have to be careful about, right? So I would just say those things need to be, just thought about. But there's definitely, they shouldn't be things that prevent you from moving forward or prevent you from coming up with a solution.
Yep.
I'm just more like the type that says, oh, I see that, and then I gotta come up with the solution to address those concerns or to address those constraints. But I think the amount of people that you can help will be immense, and I think the good that you can put back in the world is incredible. And I'm
It's
thinking about those things. It's awesome.
really good feedback. And I think you're right. There's complications to the tool. Even though the tool might at some level be really good, it might not be immediately necessary. Right. And I think that's true, especially at a local level, and may not be the right tool for the job. It's not crystal clear to me yet, which is why, but I can't stop staring at it. Like, I think this fits. It's like square peg, hole. I'm like, what, does this fit? It just looks like the same shape to me. Really does. But yeah, no, that's really, it's really good and encouraging. And in the end, it's like, well, we just do what we can do. Like, we just keep plugging along and trying to invite people onto that journey to be like, what can we do here? I'm curious, and I won't keep you too much longer, but I'm curious about that power outage. Well, there's a couple stories you told about neighbors coming together. So to find power, but then also to clean up the streets. One, that's an incredible like story of like a community taking, like, rather than like just bitching about a problem, going, let's get out here and do something about it, which at some level to me is like, that's exactly right. And it's beautiful.
New Yorker.
And it's amazing. But then I go, well, I'm curious, because that was a little while ago, right? So what have you seen? What would you say there is a lasting effect of that? So, we talked about earlier, like hard things producing really good things. Do you feel like you can tell, like, is there lasting effect, do you think, from the communities that had to come together and work together in that way?
Yeah, I mean, the cleanup of the streets was not that long ago. I mean, I think it was less than a year ago. And then, yeah, the power was kind of a while ago, because that was during Sandy. And I would just say, though, that like, I mean, in a lot of ways, I think because the pandemic was so isolating, I think for a lot of us, it also brought a lot of empathy and compassion for people.
Yeah.
I think that like that part will be lasting. I think there are certain catalysts, I think, in one's life and in society and in history. I think 9/11 is another one of those, right? Just certain ones that are very pivotal. And it's like, it leaves an imprint on life.
Yep.
And it does change life going forward. And in a lot of ways. And I think that the pandemic is one of those.
Absolutely.
And I don't think we can go back. The genie is not going back in the bottle. And the way that
to me is great news, actually.
I think
it's like, yeah,
great.
why would we want to go back?
I think the fact that people go off and they do the things that they want to do. I think the fact that people, have more empathy. Mental health is finally being talked about. Thank God. And I just feel like, but because people see the need for that. I mean, it's really for the first time where I felt like mental health was being legitimized, because people saw how critical it was, and that people need human connection. They need a place to go for these things. And you couldn't ignore it, and you couldn't just stigmatize it the same way that we were doing it before, because we were all experiencing something as a human across the entire global world. And I think when you share an experience like that, literally across the world, we're all going through something similar. Yeah, I think it made a change. And I think that there will be a lot of really good things that will, fortunately, will bring people together, instead of only dividing us. And I think the more that we can bring people together at some level is progress and time well spent.
Yeah. Amen. Is there any asks you have for those listening? Any things you want to encourage of listeners, or ask of them, or point them to?
I do. So I was talking to some of the people at Hype about this, and I think we're going to launch a campaign. So I'm not going to go into all of this right now, but I will say this, that when you see someone, take a chance on them. Give them the support that they need and may not be asking for. I put that out into the world. I think it's something that not everybody's able to ask for help. It doesn't mean that they don't need help. And it can be literally, help could be just being listened to,
Mhm.
being acknowledged, saying hello, giving them eye contact, telling them great job, telling them you have faith in them. Yeah, that would be my human ask for the
So
world.
good. It's very
Yeah.
similar to mine as well. You know, there's a lot of the people that we work with that people drive by and they can't make eye contact with. And it's like, eye contact's enough. What's up, dude, is enough. You know, like I may not have much else to offer, but I can see you, can
So
acknowledge you and honor you. And no, thank you for that. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate all your work. I'm actually really I hope to do this again with you. I want to stay connected. I'm excited about all these projects and it seems like there's only just building momentum right now. So
yeah.
I'll be excited to be kicking back on the couch watching some of your channel soon. It's
Me
so
too.
exciting. It's so exciting.
It is exciting. And yeah, if people want to give us a shout out, obviously that's always appreciated, on social media, on the hype, and, say hello to us, say hello to the creators. That also goes a long way, because again, they feel heard. Just putting good things out into the world.
We will do it. We will do it. Well, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. This was an amazing conversation. I'm so glad we had it. And thank you again for having me here today. And just enjoyed getting to know you more. And the depth of the conversation was just really amazing. And it gave me a lot of things to think about, So I
Me too.
appreciate
Me
that.
too.
So
No,
thank
I appreciate it too. That's why I love doing this. Honestly, it's just, I'm interested, and every person I do this with, I'm just like, man, there's just different vantage point and perspective. And, it's interesting. Like we were talking about, there's so many versions of work. And yet at some level, there's something very core to who we are that's being communicated. And the more people I talk to, the more diverse experiences, like they're unique. And yet at the same time, there's something very just common among them, commonalities that emerge in terms of not that they are common, but that they're human. And there's
you.
something in humans that is like, I'm going to build, I'm going to create, I'm going to make. And it's something I'm just overwhelmingly fascinated by. So thank you for letting us pick at that in you today and explore it. This was great.
Yeah, this was an awesome conversation. Thank you so much. Seriously, it's just, yeah, one of the best conversations I had. I love it. So thank you.
Well, let's do it again soon then.
Definitely.